Hello and welcome to my video on modern Ford part numbers explained. So this video is going to be focusing on part numbers ranging from 2001 up to today, so 2021. It will also be applicable for the years after this video, even when it becomes out of date, as I'll explain later. So when we say a part number, we're referring to really the engineering part number. That's what you think of. And this is what a part number looks like, or the engineering part number. So you can find this part number. It'll be on the back or on a white label of every single Ford part. It starts off. It will have a combination of letters and numbers at the beginning, with a combination of letters and numbers in the middle, and then a combination of letters at the end. So you don't want to get this confused with the finished number, which is basically Ford's reference for the part. This is just a combination of numbers, and it's only useful for speaking to the manufacturer or Ford themselves. If you get this number, like say from Ford, this quarter trim, if you phoned Ford about this and they gave you the finished number, you wouldn't be able to go, let's say, to a second-hand breaker with that number. That's not going to mean anything to them. That's just for Ford's reference. Some breakers do have or use Ford catalogues, but most of them don't. So what you're really looking for is the engineering part number. Anyway, that's going to be much more useful to you. So this is only for Ford's reference. So here we have a part number, and we're just going to really briefly break down what this is saying. So 3 is the year that the part was manufactured. This S7 is the model number or model code. This is the engineering group or category, you can think of it like that. This number is the product identifier. This is the version of that particular product, and this is the revision code. So we're just going to break this down, like what this means, and a bit about how to find a part based on this number. So let's just stick with this part number and let's see what it's saying. So number 3 means that this particular part was designed in 2003. S7 in this particular part stands for Mondeo. The number 1, this is just the category of this part. It really has no relevance if you're searching for it. Just ignore this number, but it is the category. This is the, like I said, product identifier. So in this particular example, this is talking about a gearbox, or specifically an automatic gearbox. So far what we've understood is we've got an automatic gearbox from a 2003 Mondeo. That's what we're understanding right now from this part number. Now this letter is basically the type of gearbox, and it relates to a specific function. And just to explain this, what I mean by that is that, okay, so we have an automatic gearbox from a 2003 Mondeo, but obviously there's going to be more than one automatic gearbox for that model. Like, it could be a petrol version, it could be a diesel version, there could be different functions of that gearbox. Some gearbox have start-stop kind of functions on them. So basically this letter, like in this example, C might mean that this is a 2-litre diesel gearbox. But if it was, for example, the letter B here, it might mean a 2-litre petrol gearbox, for example. So this letter's very important when finding a part because it relates specifically to what type of part that is. And this final letter is the revision code. This is basically irrelevant for finding a part, but we're going to explain why that is a bit later, but don't worry about that. This is just the revision code. So let's just look at the year of manufacture and look at what this means for modern part numbers. So here's a table I've drawn up. I'm not going to kind of go through every box here, but you can see that 2001 will have 1 at the start of the part number, 2009 will have 9. That's pretty easy to understand, and everything in between. Then at 2010 it starts the letter format, so you've got obviously A is 2010, all the way up to kind of modern letters, which are L and M now, which is obviously the codes for 2020 and 2021. And obviously, like for example, Ford just released the Ford Puma. All the parts in that normally have the they start with K and L because that's when they started making that car. So all the parts manufactured for it are from 2019 and 20, so they all start with that part number. Just to kind of briefly to illustrate how this works, let's say I have a 2012 Ford Galaxy, for example. Now you can see from that the part number would start with the letter C, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every part I'm going to pull out from that Galaxy, or every part in there, is going to start with C. And just to illustrate this, so let's say I have a problem with my steering rack from that Galaxy in 2012, and I pull the steering rack out, I look at the part number on it, and that's what the part number is. So you can see it says 6G91-3A500ES. So you're thinking, well, I've got a 2012 Galaxy, but this starts with 6. So it's 2006. What's that about? Well, obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean that your part was made in 2006. It was probably made in 2012 for that car, but the design for that part was made in 2006. And all this means is basically there have been no revisions to this part since 2006. So you could find that part, in a 2006 or 2007, all the way up to your model, basically. You could find that part in a Galaxy. So that's just briefly explains just a little bit about the different parts and the years they're from. So we're just going to look at models. Now, there's no real easy way to explain this. This is just a quick table I've drawn up. There's no kind of rhyme or reason to the model codes. This table only really relates to UK Ford vehicles. So obviously you've got like Mondeo, S7, Galaxy, G9, S-Max M2, B-Max's V1. There's a lot of crossover with different models, so like Focus and C-Max are largely loads of the parts are the same in those models. And obviously like the American models like Mustang and the Escape and the other American models, they're going to have their own model codes. It doesn't matter too much. But yeah, these are the model codes. It's just kind of a quick table for you to look at. So let's just briefly go over something now. So about how to find a part basically and what's going to be compatible. So let's say I have, I don't know, a 2009 Ford Cougar and I have a problem with my speedo and maybe the display's not working. So I take it to a mechanic, he pulls it out and he says, yeah, the speedo's got to be replaced and Ford, they want £1,200 for it. And you go, well, I'm not spending that much on my car, I'm going to find it second hand. So he goes, okay, and he gets the part number for you, and he finds the part number, and it's this part number. So it's 8V4T 10849 Hotel Kilo at the end. So you're looking at this part number and you're going, okay, I've got to find a speedo with this part number. So you find one online, but it's got this code. So it's 8V4T 10849 Now this happens quite a lot when people are looking for parts, is that they find one that's very close but it's got different letters at the end. And maybe this speedo that you found this on, it looks identical, exactly the same as the one that you have in your car, and you're thinking, well, it's only the letters at the end, is it really that relevant? Let's just try and put it in and see what happens. Well, actually it is very important, this this last two letters, because basically in this particular example, just to illustrate it, the one with MM at the end is a model that has a sat-nav version, and the speedo has specific hardware on it that relates to the sat-nav. And the Hotel Kilo version, the HK version, that's without a sat-nav. So obviously they're not cross-compatible. If you try and put the one with a sat-nav in there, it's probably like not going to work, or is going to have errors, and vice versa. Obviously there's going to be problems basically. So that it's very important to find the matching part number, and especially the letter at the end. So that hopefully explains that, and that you can't kind of let's say cut corners with that. So this is just another bit of information about finding parts. So let's say I have this Fiesta drive shaft. I pull it out the Fiesta, there's a problem with it, needs to be replaced, and it's got this part number on it. CV17-3B436BD. When you're trying to find this part number, you need to match the first 4 letters and numbers. The middle number needs to be the same, or the middle code needs to be the same. And at the end, the only real important letter here is B. D is actually really not important. All D is it's basically saying that there was a revision in this particular category of parts, and it would have started off when this part was manufactured. It would have started off as BA, and when the next revision would be BB, the next revision would be BC. But it really doesn't have any bearing on the function or the type of part. All these codes are going to fit your car. If this was the part you pulled out, it's going to fit if it's BA, BB, BC, BD, BE at the end even. Don't have to worry about this last letter. And that can help you specifically if you're, sometimes when people are trying to match a part number, like exactly, it can be quite hard, and they think that if it's a different letter at the end, it won't fit their car, and they end up going to the manufacturer because they don't trust that if it's a different letter, it might not be the same. But honestly, the last letter has no bearing on the function of the part. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been informative. If you need any advice or help, like with a part, whether it's going to fit your car, you can ask below. I'm always willing to offer a bit of advice for anyone that needs it. So thank you for watching.